Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. It has been a long time since I've done anything or posted anything related to sewing or crafting, all of that jazz. Essentially, I got super busy with teaching, and I had my preliminary exams, which are the big scary thing when you get into a PhD. And it was big, it was scary, 10 out of 10, don't recommend. But I passed, so that's great. And that makes me feel a little more at ease, officially a PhD candidate, woohoo! Also, around the same time that I stopped filming and doing my videos, it was just taking a lot of time. And we got a new kitten, and his name is Loopy. You will see him probably at some point in the video. He is very noisy and nosy. The two ends, the worst ends a cat can be. And so you'll see him and probably Mr. P. He's still very much a menace when it comes to sewing, but just wanted to give you an update on that. And obviously the scenery has changed a little bit, so I moved all of my sewing stuff up into one of our extra rooms. And it's not a big room, as you can tell, because I'm squished into the corner. And I also have my work desk in here and a spare couch in here, so there's not a lot of space, but it gives me a dedicated area that I can just close the door and not have to worry about cats getting into it and just having all my stuff confined. So you will see that as well. Plus it has a fun drop leaf table. You can kind of see here, which allows me to have some extra space if I'm doing cutting and stuff like that. So overall, I'm pretty happy about the change, but due to the window here and everything, and obviously the shadows from the lights that I have, there will probably be some variation in light, so my apologies for that in advance. Outside of all of that, the only new thing that I have is I bought a new sewing machine as kind of a way to motivate me to get back into this, because I really enjoyed it and I missed having that hobby. And two, the other machine that I had was like $100 brother machine that I bought in 2020. And it served me well, and I was very much able to do a bunch of things. It just took a lot longer, and the use was it was kind of finicky. And so there's nothing wrong with it. And it worked well for me, and I plan on donating it. But I wanted a machine that I could kind of get a little bit more of the conveniences and maybe some of the bells and whistles that I didn't have on my basic machine. So I went to a local sewing shop and they helped me pick out a machine. I highly recommend doing this. I saw it online everywhere and it was super frustrating to me at first because I was like, oh, I just want people to tell me what machines they like so that I don't have to go into the store and I can just order it online and get the best option and all of that. But in reality, it ended up working out well for me. So I went to a shop, I tried a couple machines out, I gave them my price range, and honestly, the one I got was outside of my price range, but they had an open box from a quilt con that they did, and with that open box discount, it brought it back within my price range. So even though it was a little bit out of my price range initially, it ended up being in my price range in the end. So anyways, I'm getting off track as always. So why am I here today? Well, I made my first patchwork dress that I'm currently wearing, and I love it so much. But I didn't film this particular dress project because, one, I didn't know if I was going to like the process and want to do it again and want to film it. And I had never done any sort of patchwork quilting, so I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I didn't want to waste a bunch of time filming something and then hating the end product. But it's actually one of my favorite, if not my favorite thing that I've made. I think patchwork and quilting and all of that stuff can really bring out your personality and give you creative freedom to put something that really screams like, this is me, especially if you only choose things that you're drawn to. So I'll show you guys a close-up of the details in a minute, but overall, I really enjoyed this. There's some photos over on my Instagram. If you follow me over there, you might have already seen it. But yeah, so because I liked it so much and I didn't film it the first time, I decided that I would go ahead and do it again. But in a different colorway with a different theme and see how it goes. So I learned a couple of things that I'd like to change or construction wise that I might do with this next dress. This one is totally wearable, but obviously you can always make improvements. So as always, let's go ahead and get started. So this is the chicken dress that I made. And as you can see, there's a cute little panel in the front. And I love these little pigs that are at the top. And so I tried to keep those in the design while I was thinking about it, just because I think it's so cute. And of course, there's the chickens, and it says ruffled feathers, which I just thought was absolutely adorable. And up top, you can see I tried to use similar patterns, even though they're not exactly the same. So you have the checks here that are like red and cream. And then these are actually from the same fabric as a chicken, but it's like a bigger check plaid and a smaller check plaid on this side. And then up top, I use like a bluish dark with like these red berries. You can kind of see it on camera, but they're really cute. And then on the other side, I did like a dark blue with a bunch of vegetables on it, which I felt like kind of matched. And then, so I did that for the top part, and I tried to keep doing that going down. So you can see like this has a little bit more green in it. So I put green over here. This has a little bit more orange. So I put orange over here. This one has mostly green, same thing. And then just a pop of color on this side and a pop of color on that side as well. So overall, I tried to make it look cohesive and still like patchworky. But I think it turned out really nice. And then in the back, I did bigger panels of the same fabrics that I used on the front piece. And with the skirt, I just thought it was really cute. I added these big pockets. I used similar fabric, but it's different from the front and the back. So there's the same panel, but different on each side. And I added a tie waist. As you can see, it's kind of big on me. And so that tie waist makes it so that I can wear it regardless of my size. As I've mentioned, I fluctuate a lot. And it's super wearable right now, especially when I tie it back. As you can see, it fits my current size quite well. So overall, I think it's really cute. And I added these little flutter sleeves to finish it off. Okay, so as I showed you guys the last time, my center focus were these tiny little hens that said ruffled feathers. And that was kind of the centralized point for this design and the color scheme and kind of how I went about it the entire way. And so this next one, I found these adorable, they're like quick quilt squares, and there's a bunch of them. You can find them a lot on eBay. They're specifically from Cranston, I think. And this particular one was too cute to pass up. As we all know, I am a crazy cat lady. Loopy is cat number 4. That means I have 4 cats. I don't regret that at all. So, with that being said, the next focal point that I'm going to work off of is this right here. So you can see it's a cute little white kitty with a red bow. I loved the red and blue contrast, and I thought it was just such a cute little motif. And so I have 2 of these, one that's facing right and one that's facing left, because obviously they're supposed to be like pillow patches or like quilt patches. And so I think this is going to be my main kind of workaround and the center focal point for my next dress. As you can see, the sunlight is coming in all funky, so I'm probably going to be dark in this photo. Not much I can do about it. Okay. So now comes the fun part, and that's pretty much trying to decide what fabrics to include with this centerpiece. And I'll likely use the border here. And hello, Mr. P. Hello. We have our nice little visitor, Mr. P. And so I'm not really sure what I want to use for all of the different pieces. What I originally picked out up front and first was this fun fabric, which has like just a cute. So I think I'm going to use this for sure as a pop of red to go with the blue. This I have multiple of, so I've got 2. And I think these blue stripes would be nice. They're just tiny blue pinstripes, but I think those will complement a decent bit. So for sure these 3. And I also have this. I think could be nice. It includes the blue and the white and the red. Of course this one. So I think that will look nice as well. There are these cool birds with like a red pattern, but it's also creamy off-white. But I think I might use these too. I'm gonna try and work out what colors I want to use, and then once I figure that all out, I'll come back on camera and walk through the process that I typically go through. Are you praying? Who are you praying at? Mr. P? So I've cut out my little cat piece, and the bodice pattern doesn't fit the entire piece, so some of this will be in the seam allowance, but really the main point is to get the cat centralized. And I think these are the fabrics that I'm going to work with. So I found these 2 paisleys, so they're not identical but similar in shape. They're not the exact same, but they both have like a paisley shape, and they're both like a dark with a creamy color. So I mostly just matched tones. So like dark and then like a light tone, and because this is a bigger print over here, I'm going to put the bigger print on the opposite side. So then there's a small pinstripe with this compared to this like light blue here. And then the red, to bring out the red, this adorable fabric. I have a couple of these. I love this one so much. And then this tighter knit fabric here, or not necessarily knit, tighter patterned fabric here. So I try to alternate between like big and small patterns and big and small, just so that it has some visual appeal. So similar tones, not the exact same fabrics on the bottom part. And then up top, I don't have another plaid that's similar to this that has like the red and the blue in there. So I think I might just do the same fabric. I didn't do that with the dress I'm wearing, but I think it might work out better that way. So I've got that as a little square here on both sides, and then I want to use the border if I can on each side, so one like this and one like that maybe, depending on if there's enough seam allowance to go here, and then put on the outside just kind of similar, again, tonal fabric so that it matches. So I think this is what I'm going to do with the front. And for the back, typically I use whichever fabrics I have more of. So like for instance, I have more rolls of these 2, so I'll probably use these 2 in the back and then add in whatever I might have most of, because when it comes to this, I also have to do the skirt, and I like to match the skirt somewhat to the bodice, at least as much as I can to the bodice. So I have to kind of strategically do this. So we'll see which end up making it into the skirt. And if I need to go out and hunt for some more fabric, whether that's online or at my local shop. So all of this fabric that you see here is secondhand and or vintage. So we have a shop in my town that sells vintage and or secondhand fabric. So I always get it from there. So if I need to, I'll look for some more blues, but I have other options over here that might be fun to add in. So anyways, just wanted to show you this before I go ahead and start cutting out the pieces and assembling it together. Okay, so I measured everything out essentially. So this one is going to be a little bit different than the one that I'm wearing since this is such a big square. I wanted to get as much of like the cute detailing in as possible. So the sides are less complicated and there's like less patchworkiness. So it'll be kind of like, it's patchy, but not as patchy. So essentially I decided that this was the setup I liked the most. What I really like is these little paisley design remind me of like koi fish or fish in a pond. And so I have this at the bottom right, so it kind of looks like the cat's looking sadly at the koi pond fish thing. So yeah, so essentially from this point I just have to sew everything together. Typically I go down, this one should be a lot easier to construct than the one that I'm wearing now, but still. So I just have to construct this and we will see how it looks. I think I like having the red underneath of the arm because it'll be just a little pop. It looks like a lot of red right now, but it'll cut into here and it'll be just kind of like a little sloped curve. So it'll be kind of like the little bow on the kitty's face. But that's what I'm thinking right now. A decent amount of matchy-matchy, and I think it'll turn out cute. Alrighty, so we are back for day 2, and last night I really just finished up the bodice patchwork pieces and cut out the pattern. So I haven't sewn anything together. I just made sure that the patterns were ready to go. And oh boy, so if you think about it, I started at like 4 yesterday and I went until probably 9:30, 10 last night. And so that was really just patchworking the base fabric together and cutting it out. And at this point, this particular dress and pattern, if I had used just a ready-made fabric that I didn't have to piece together, I would probably already be done with the bodice and halfway done with the skirt, or I might have finished the dress. Honestly, I think this dress construction-wise is maybe a 5-hour project for me, maybe 6-hour project at max. And with the patchwork, it ends up making it multiple days. I just am not fast at it. I think it's probably because I spend way too much time trying to figure out what kind of colors I want to use in fabric. I just like, it's a process for me. It's not a quick decision. And so it takes me a while, but I digress. So with this cute little kitten, I decided to do a little bit simpler of a patchwork design than I did with the chickens. So the kitty's taking up a lot more of the front bodice piece than the chickens do. And so I decided to do just like a more of a stripey kind of patchwork on the side to keep it simple for myself. And then I stuck with the same pattern that I did before, where it's like a long piece, a square, and a short piece for the straps. And I finished up the back as well. Now the back is super similar to the chicken in terms of the number of squares and the shape and all of that. It was already pretty simple. So I really just mashed up the colors because I thought that would be cute and make it look a little bit more cohesive. And I also just love the red. I'm not a huge fan of like red, white, and blue together. Don't tell my country that, I guess. But it's just not my biggest, like, I think it's because I associate it so much with like the 4th of July and America and all of that stuff. So I just tend to like not those colors put together. It's kind of like when you look at something that's like red and green and you're like, oh, that's Christmas. Like it just elicits a certain time of year or a holiday, if you will. But I think it's actually really cute in this instance. And I think it's because it's a cat. I think if it was any other animal, that had a cute little red ribbon. No, I'm lying to you guys, because if this was a cute little bunny with a bow, I would still love it. If it was a deer with a bow, I would love it. Any cute woodland animal that has a bow on it, I would take in place for this cat. Honestly, an owl with a bow, adorable. Still a woodland animal. So you can sense a theme. But really, my goal today is just to finish up the bodice and start planning out the skirt. So the skirt takes a long time because when I look at the fabrics that I have to make sure that there's enough to do that size square with its seam allowance for the front and the back out of that fabric piece. And I'm working with a lot of fat quarters. So some of the fabric that I have, I should be good to get 2 pieces out of. But with this limited color scheme compared to the last one, which had like greens and reds and blues and creams and browns all in that center focal point, I'm really primarily working with just red, light blue, dark blue, and white. So we'll see. I already have the ruffle and like the sleeve ruffle and the bottom ruffle picked out. Really, that's just based on whatever my fabric store, which is a secondhand fabric store that I get most of my stuff from, what they have in longer pieces. So I get a lot of my fat quarters from there, but then also they have like 2 to 3 yard rolls sometimes. So really limited on what that is. So already have that picked out. That helps a lot. And so really I just have to start sewing. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started. And as always, I'll meet you back here in just a few minutes and we'll look at the bodice put together and go from there. Okay, so we're at my cute little sewing machine. I really like it. As I've mentioned before, it has 2 options. One, a foot pedal, which is what I'm typically used to. And then it also has buttons on the front. And I've been trying to use that and see how I feel about it, and maybe it'll make it a little bit easier for me if I don't want to use the pedal all the time. This table is typical standard table height, which is 30 inches. I am 5'1". So the issue is my feet, if I'm sitting in my chair right now, which I am, believe it or not, my feet do not touch the ground. And because of that, it makes it difficult. Loopy. Sorry, my cat, Loopy, is scratching at the box light. He's less than a year old, so that's part of it. Stop! Anyways, so yeah, my feet don't touch the ground, and it makes using a pedal a little hard when that's not something I can do. So because of that, I've been trying to use the little buttons. So we'll see. It's worked so far. I used it for the last project. The biggest struggle is trying to figure out when to hit the stop button so that it stops. So I tend to sew slower. So that's something that maybe once I use it enough, I'll figure it out. But anyways, I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's cute. I like the color. But let's go ahead and get sewing this front and bodice piece together. I just use a 1/4 inch seam allowance because I didn't build that in. So here comes Loopy. As you can tell, he's very much a kitten and wants to play. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so I have finished doing the lining and the front piece together. I left the shoulders open so that way there's not a lot of bulk when I attach the back to the front. So I didn't go along the top, I just went along the edges. I found that that was the easiest way to do it last time, so I decided to do it this way too. But as you can see, it's all pinned together on my mannequin. This will be the little button placket, the back, and the other side. You know how it works. I just wanted to pop on to show you the right side of the fabrics because a couple minutes ago I was still putting everything together. So this is where we're at right now. I'm going to keep working on the button plackets and getting the bodice together and then figuring out how to do the skirt. All right, so we're back for another day. I actually worked on this project yesterday too, but I was wearing pajamas and didn't feel like filming. So here we are, actually dressed today. And so I pretty much was able to finish the bodice. So I added the cute flutter sleeves and I finished the inside with a bias tape. And I did that all the way around the edges. And for the last one, the chicken one, I actually tucked the bias tape in one more time and made it so that it was on the inside. But it made the shoulder pretty bulky, not uncomfortable, but just like noticeably bulky. So I decided to leave it just underneath of the ruffle this time and see how I like that. Especially since we have exposed bias tape on the back, it kind of matches. So I didn't think it was that big of a like design deal, but I was able to finish it and I added cute little ties on the side. I sewed them and kind of folded in the exposed end of the ties, and they're pretty long, which is nice. And I added interfacing, like light interfacing into the straps just so that they don't like fold in on themselves so easily and kind of hold their shape. But other than that, the bodice is finished and ready to be attached. I've done the buttonholes. I have not attached the buttons, which I mentioned I'm not going to do until after I sew the skirt on, which was a mistake I made last time with the chicken one. And this particular limited color palette was challenging, and it meant that I had to reuse some of the same fabric designs in the skirt, which is not something that I did last time. So with the chicken outfit, the front panel, the left and the right sides were completely different fabrics. So no two were the same. You would only find duplicates on the front and the back panels. But with this one, I just didn't have enough true reds and like blues and whites to do that. So I ended up reusing. And this is the little panel, the front panel. Hopefully you guys can see it. And so I tried to go red, blue, red, blue, red, blue on each like row, I guess you could say. And so I'm pretty happy with it. And I was able to finish that late yesterday, but I was able to finish it. So today's plan is to make an exact carbon copy of that front skirt for the back. As I know, many of you guys aren't really here for the nitty-gritty detailing of how I construct things because most of you sew a lot already and just like having somebody in the background to sew along. So I'll go ahead and get started on putting together the other skirt piece and finishing the skirt. And I hope to have that finished today. And I'll try to film some of it for you, but I actually love listening to podcasts while I am filming. So maybe it'll be a little music montage so that I don't have to talk as much. But I'm going to go ahead and keep working on this. So far, I'm really liking it, even though it's not my typical color scheme or really style. I can't get past this cute kitten. And if you can, shame on you. All right, everyone, so the patchwork dress is complete. As always, this was just as fun as the first one. I actually felt more confident in this one, knowing what steps to do and how I was going to construct it. So I ended up feeling better about the outcome and just like the quality of it. This is more of like a clean finish than my first one was. But either way, I love them both for different reasons. This one is very, I don't know, it's just cleaner and a little bit more like something that I might see in the store maybe. Like it feels like a very curated patchwork, whereas the last one still was curated. It just felt more like traditional patchwork, if you know what I mean. And again, I think that's all down to the color scheme and what I had to work with. But I'm still on a patchwork kick, and so my next project is already started, and I've been working on it the last couple days, and it's another patchwork dress, big shock. I really want to perfect this particular style and construction process because I really have a lot of fun with it, and I have so many ideas and things that I want to make. And so I've started. I know it's technically still August, but for me, August is rarely seen as summer, and I always pick up my fall candles, and I start to see some leaves change. Even here in a place that's really, really warm, we start to see color changes. So I went ahead and started on my very blatant fall Halloween dress, and that's something that my chicken one, for me, it feels very autumnal. It's got a lot of those warm colors, and it's very, like, I don't know, farmy. But I think that this one is, you really can't get past it. It's something that you will, like, it's very blatantly fall. So I will probably show you guys just a sneak peek on my mannequin because that's where it's at right now. I've got the front piece done. And for this one, I'm actually going to change the construction up a little bit. I'm going to try and just get rid of the buttons and just do a simple side seam and see if it fits right, if I can get it over my head because I'm not using any zippers, that kind of stuff, so that I can see whether or not it will work. So once I get the bodice put together, if that fits, I'll go ahead and work on the skirt. But anyway, so you guys probably won't see another video from me because I'm going to be on this patchwork little craze for a while, and I'm sure you don't want repeated videos over and over again of the same thing. So maybe I'll do a live stream. I know I promised to do that back in February. I had a lot of technical difficulties, and then it just got really, really busy for me. So if you are interested in like a live stream while I work on some patchwork dresses, let me know. I think that could be really fun to do and a way to like just kind of interact with you guys. But anyways, cute little kitty dress is finished, and I will have the like finished photos, all of that stuff over on my Instagram if you want to see more of like up close detail shots. I know that the little outro for this video, the reveal, was kind of like cramped. Again, I'm in a new room, so I'm trying to keep it confined, but hopefully you guys can see the details over on Instagram. And thank you guys so much for watching my first video back. Hopefully you guys have had a wonderful summer, and I will see you guys next time. Here's a sneak peek of the bodice of the fall Halloween one. So it says pumpkins for sale. Here, I've got some black cats on this side, and there's actually a scarecrow from the same, like, technical pattern, but different. This was like a pillow or, like, quilt, easy quilt, and then this was just, like, pattern of the same design. So here is the little sneak peek.